What's up, StarCraft fans? Welcome to the latest Commander tier list application. Today we have Azule, who will play as Zeratul on Rifts of Coral in the first portion. So let's actually start the game right away. Azule, welcome.
Hi!
Why don't you tell us a bit about yourself?
I've been a StarCraft player for a very long time now, and only recently really started grinding out my co-op mutation progress for all my achievements and all my commander achievements, and I've been a long-time viewer of your channel.
I like that. Alright, so tell us about the challenge that you have set for yourself.
I just kind of picked one of the weekly mutations out at random,
Alright,
if I'm being really honest.
so you have
Couple
chosen
easy.
Zeratul on Rifts of Coral with mutators Alien Incubation, Laser Drill, Eminent Domain. What is your plan?
Honestly, it's Zeratul, so it's just, you can go at it and just win.
Fair, that's fair. Alright, you may click start game anytime. So as usual, I'll let you do the talking and take it away.
Yeah, sounds good. So in Rifts of Coral, obviously, very easy map. Zeratul has his obvious advantages of being able to have a very easy game, or easy early game, with his ancient simulators and his powerful hero units. I personally prefer to go P3 on these shorter maps. If it's a longer map, I'll go P2 because it's a very late game centric prestige, but this one you can just walk into the enemy base, do a couple cleaves, clear out everything there is to clear. Oh, looks like I'm either against Terran or Protons.
It's Terran. There are no doodads here, therefore it's Terran.
Our allies
We must fend off enemy
Fancy Liberator. Battlecruiser probably goes Suryath then to help with the attack waves. As mind controlling those later game battlecruisers will provide an excellent boost to my army. Not that this commander needs it very much. So with Laser Drill, Eminent Domain, and Alien Incubation, the biggest risk would be clearing too many enemies out, in my opinion, with Zeratul, where he can afford to clear out all the follow-up broodlings.
But we shall answer.
And losing basically the entire base to a bunch of small little guys.
I will not lift my command center, by the way. If I die, I die.
First attack wave incoming. Alright, that's a laser drill. Just let CTG tank for me for a little bit. He's got the HP to spare.
It starts burning down at about 400 health or something.
Our allies' base is under attack.
Wow, I really messed up this early game, haven't I? Yeah, there we go.
Okay, not burning yet. Nice micro. Where are you going?
Our allies are being attacked.
Zertul's out.
Our allies'
Be
base
salvageable.
Once more.
Our SCVs are under attack.
And he's already producing out of this. Second core. Oh wait. Yeah, Aemon took over core 4, but I'm gonna start burning down soon. Ouch.
A void shard's been reported outside of your landing point, so that's your first objective. Best of luck out there.
And I will see that it is destroyed. Foes are closing in on our base.
Still providing vision.
Ready your blades.
This is spiraling out of control. Alright, finally took care of that. Why so many gateways though?
So I've messed up this early game drastically badly. And now I have to be really concerned about ETG's base burning down. I'm going to place a tower over there to hopefully delay any attack waves that come near him, as well as I've sent Serdath to go and deal with the first attack wave while I go grab my natural. Because as powerful as Zeratul is, he still needs his natural just as much as anyone else.
I like this. I like this touch. This will keep me safe. One minute until the next attack wave.
Calling down the Hyperion. You can count on me. Raiders roll.
At the moment, I need to wait till my things up cool down. My next artifact's in the next objective, so I'm just going to hold off on grabbing that.
What's up with all these production structures?
We got some visitors heading
Is
for
he
our
near?
base. They don't look too friendly. Sounds like a plan.
Very bold move.
Top banana.
Hyperion came for a quick scout on my base. Hopefully he found what he was looking for.
Talk to me. What's the plan?
That's just the first of many.
My
Okay,
guy has
commanders,
more
let's
gateways
get to
than
work.
units.
Don't
I
get too cozy,
understand.
commanders. More void shards have appeared, and our time is short.
Okay, again, if my command center goes down, it's ogre. It's not burning yet.
SCVs aren't really real units anyways. What do they provide to an economy? Minerals? Who needs those?
Who needs those? Yeah. Fix nits. So game over. Oh. Attack wave in 5 seconds.
Our allies are being attacked.
Got an enemy attack coming for our base. Stay frosty.
I still don't understand why he has so many gateways and
Zeratul,
robots.
P2, all these little poking maneuvers will be more than enough to clear out.
Our allies
This makes no
are
sense to
being
me.
attacked.
Okay.
Those Chimeran pirates are trying to steal from us during an attack on the city. I'd appreciate it
How
if you
Zeratul
could
just might
exterminate them.
just might win this mutation. That'd be kind of funny.
Cannot deceive the eyes of the Nerazim.
By the way, I am muted for him. He cannot hear me. Space is clear. Well, stuff is clear with this section. And this one. Otherwise, Zeratul will get shot at. Why are we not using our army?
Our allies are being attacked.
I wonder if it would be worth it to take the second expansion in Zeratul. I think he doesn't really have the supply to spare for that if you're going for a strong army.
What's the point of getting an economy if you're not even going to use your production?
We have to break apart those shards before they activate. Get moving.
The best
They
idea I
keep
think I've ever
summoning
heard you have,
shards,
Faraday.
and we keep sending them back.
Right on. The objective's down.
It's puzzling. I'll just use the Banshee for free. And then refuses to fight the turret.
That's another void shard down.
Yet our foes
So on some
have
maps,
learned little.
the laser drill is a very
Detecting
killable
newly summoned void
objective.
shards. It's our
It
job to
respawns.
blast them apart.
However, on this map, it's just so deep in the enemy's base that it's not really worth my time to go over there and try and kill it and farm it.
Good. Witchcraft Legion.
Our allies are being
We
attacked.
needed action. There are Banshees here.
Thankfully, I got a fairly easy enemy composition to deal with.
I think he got. Oh no.
Our allies
I
are
think he
being
got-
attacked.
The Banshee with the splash.
If I'd gotten some like siege tanks, that might be a
Tornado.
little more annoying. But anti-air almost feels like Zeratul's specialty, especially with his enforcers.
That's true, but everything feels like their specialty.
Our allies are being attacked.
Uh-oh. This we realize.
Our allies are being attacked.
Pirate ship neutralized. Nothing worse than pirates and traitors.
Our allies are being attacked.
I'm always a big purporter of always getting your bonus objectives, whether or not you're level 1000 or level 5, because maybe your buddy needs it. A co-op partner. I play a lot of not solos, but at the same time, I do find the challenge to be a little fun. The rest of this map's gonna probably be fairly boring as I just stomp the objectives with a mix of shield guards, enforcers, not shield guards, ambushers, enforcers, and their
Poor
friends.
mortals are getting destroyed though.
We got enemy forces inbound on our base.
He knows the attack wave. Looks like it at least. Could be wrong. It's taking way too long. Very nice. Teleport them. You have
Great
the ability.
on times. Now I'm overcapped my supply. I mean, I feel that should not be allowed on Zeratul.
I'm calling in the Hyperion. Break it down.
Hyperion is trying to scout me again.
Count on me.
Guess he didn't find what he was looking for last time.
I need to raise his volume again.
Our allies are being attacked.
There we go.
Our allies are being attacked.
You can count on me.
It'll take more than a few void shards to defeat the Dominion.
We will turn the tides of fate.
Those filthy pirates are trying for another score. Let's lay down the law, commanders.
Our allies are being attacked.
Wonder how much gas he's floating. Not Not a single watcher made.
Our
No
allies
void
are
arise.
Second objective easily cleared out here. Very little issues.
No shield guards.
As long as our minds are clear, we can prevail.
Need to move against the void shards soon. We're running out of time. Only one group of shards left. Crush them into dust and
Third
end
day, you're
this
stressing
fight.
over nothing.
He's just walking and forces across the map. Treated them like plebs or something. Come on, these
I
are.
think he does make a good point.
The enemy
I do have to worry about my
used to
time.
attack our base.
I'll probably not be tackling the second bonus objective just because on this map it's a little out of the way if you don't have an air army.
Our allies are being attacked.
You could have just blinked that.
Almost lost their tool there, but
If only Zeratul had a unit that allowed his units to cross.
thankfully I had nearby units
A
to
chasm.
for all those attacks.
You're losing.
The battle moves against us.
It's okay, Zeratul. They'll come back. They're immortal after all.
He does make a point. They are immortal. But we have 6 minutes remaining.
Now we're just gonna wait for our cooldowns to come back
Our
before
allies are being
he pushes
attacked.
this ramp.
Come on, these are noble units. Why are you just making them walk across the map like a bunch of plebs?
Our allies
Sheesh.
are being attacked.
Next attack wave might get dicey.
Our allies are being attacked. Our allies are being attacked. Bonus objective expiring.
So at the front gate, that means they're talking free
Enemies
clear a
headed
little bit.
for our base.
Isn't so. Actually, rhymes.
Countdown showing that void shards are going to activate soon. That's not good.
Good damage. Very good damage. Okay, here come the anti-air. Oh, he's just move commanding them though. Shoot! Alright. Got it.
Let those cowards run, commanders.
You gotta fight
We'll
this
get
turret
'em
if you
next time.
want Zeratul to live.
Yeah, I really have to start pushing for this objective now.
And I see your reputations are well earned. These void shards are dropping like flies.
As it must be.
Finally a projection.
Our allies are being attacked.
I'm detecting an enemy attack. They're heading towards us now.
I think we're kind of in a base race situation.
We don't have much time left. Destroy the void shards while we still can.
Our allies are being attacked.
I think regardless of the result, this is one of the ultimate demonstrations of how strong Zeratul is and why you can recommend it to anyone. Anyone, if you win, play
Now
Zeratul.
that's what I like to see. Void
One
shard
more.
terminated.
You're on a timer though. These
you
guys
got it.
will destroy my
That one's
base
down
very
for the
quickly.
count.
Alright, it's gonna be
I
close.
think this is going to be pretty close.
I think he will
considering
get it,
that they
though.
unfortunately went for CTG.
He will get it. There we go. GG.
Forces have suffered.
Victory's never tasted sweeter.
That was a lot closer than I meant it to be.
What do you mean?
But
That
it
wasn't
is-
even close. That was like the easiest game ever.
I don't know. They were about to destroy your base.
No, not even close. They weren't literal inches away from getting in range. So I have to ask you a few questions.
Yeah, that's fine.
Why did you make like 6 gateways to produce like 4 ambushers?
If you really want to know, it's because I forgot that which ones were gateways and which ones were the cyber cores, and I just didn't bother caring.
Oh my Donnie. And why no void arrays?
On this map, you just don't need them. All the enemy attack waves came from the same place.
Alright, fair point. Okay, so now we'll
On
move
other
on.
maps, like
Yeah?
I was gonna say, on other maps like missed opportunities, they're definitely needed, especially when you have the attack waves that come from 4 different directions.
Alright,
On this, yeah.
now we'll move on to the tier list portion of the interview. Alright, today we are doing Temple of the Past with Long Range, Eminent Domain, and Laser Drill. Azule, tell us, how will you rank the commanders this week?
Well, looking at these mutators, to me the most important two are long range and laser drill. Always found eminent domain to be kind of a, if you're losing, it's worse for you. If you're winning, it doesn't even exist.
Very true.
So the best question is, which commanders can deal the best with long range and laser drill? And I believe that would be commanders who probably have an easier time pushing out, so that you can push into the enemy attack waves, so they're not just sieging you from the bottom of a ramp, and also to push into the laser drill, because you should always be killing it if you can.
Very true. Alright, let's
Putting-
begin.
Oh, go ahead.
Abathur, where do we have him?
I think he's probably easily A or S tier. I would personally put him S, but I could also see an argument for A.
Based
If you manage-
on...
If you have an early enough Brutalist, getting to the laser drill is not an issue, especially since it has that minimum attack range. And his swarm hosts are more than capable of keeping back any attack wave on this map. Otherwise, it's not a very hard
That's what she said.
map in the first place. Not a very hard map in the first place.
Alright. So is that your final assessment?
I think he would do perfectly fine, yes, because his swarm hosts perfect for pushing into the attack range of the enemies. His brutalists are perfect for camping the laser drill. And if need be, you
Yes.
can always build a Ravager Roach army to just push into the lanes themselves later on. He doesn't rely on structures like other commanders, so he doesn't have to worry too much about eminent domain.
Okay. Let's put Abathur in A. Alarak, where do we have him?
Alarak, I think he's also another easily A tier. In my
Okay.
opinion, I think there's no low tiers in this mission or this mutation. He has a very strong early game with Alarak himself, and if you go P3, obviously you gain the mothership, and that allows him to have a very good split army on this map, as he can defend more than one ramp. Whereas some other commanders might want to have their whole army together. Yeah, it's fine. I think that for him, the best strategy would be to just go mothership and make a mix of destroyer army, unless it's a very anti-air complex Scourge, and probably just a very durable ground army such as Slayer, so you can walk into enemies very reliably.
Okay.
I would suggest either P3 or P2, depending on what you would think would be whatever the individual player would want to play with more.
Okay,
Otherwise,
that's fair.
I think he's probably A this week.
A this week. Yes, this is this week's mutation. So Alarak goes in A tier. Arcturus, where do we have him?
Arcturus always very powerful. Um, he has very easy access to his extra minerals. He's got very long range with his Earth Splitters, if that's how you prefer to play. Or if you prefer to push in, you've got your Merchant of Death for the equipped troopers. I think there's probably almost no wrong build for Minx this week. I think the biggest thing you have to do is save your cooldowns for just in case you've split your army too much, because he does have a problem with splitting his army. Otherwise, I think he's probably, in my mind, a very strong contender for S, because he can just do it all. If you have another attack wave, even just building their Earth Splitter ordnance by themselves is a good idea to slow them down with Contaminated Strike.
True. You can't slow them down with Contaminated Strike. Is that it?
I think he's probably I think he's a very strong contender for S.
All right. Arcturus S tier. Artanis, where do we have him?
I think he's my B tier. I'm thinking B or C, because Artanis is a commander that, while once built up, he has a very easy time walking around the map. But on this map specifically, you don't have the ability to just have your army in one place. You're going to be attacked from both directions at all times, or at least for a majority of the map, as well as the laser drill is going to wear down your lower HP, as most people generally spam Dracoons, because it's a very easy and powerful strategy.
It's true.
He is also a commander who actually might struggle a little bit with Eminent Domain, as he relies on warp gates, and they're able to instantly warp after destroying one of your warp gates. As well as long range is another big detriment to him, because one of his normal advantages is that his Dragoons outrange pretty much everything, so the fact that he'll have to walk into enemies is very dangerous for him as well. I think he is maybe my only contender for C. I think he's going to not struggle, but I think in terms of how the commanders rank up against each other, I think he's like going to be the weakest one this week.
All right. Is it B or C?
I think B or C, yeah.
B or C?
Oh, I think he's probably B, because it's a really easy mutation even otherwise.
Fair.
I don't think you'll struggle with
Fair
Artanis.
point.
I just
Okay. Artanis goes in B tier. Dehaka, where do we have him?
I mean, it's the Haka.
So D?
P2.
for Dehaka?
I think it's probably S. I think P2 is the one to go with this one. And just build an army on the side. I think you just have, because you're able to get your pack leaders up so consistently that they can deal with an attack wave easily by themselves, as well as you can build an army to deal with the other side, because his army is more than capable.
Which army?
He also has. I generally build Mutalisks because I find them very powerful.
Yeah.
But you can go Tyrannosaurs, you can go his Swarm host, you can go his Creeper hosts. It's got a lot of variety. That's just very. He's got a very mix and match depending on what you're fighting.
All right. So S?
I think he's S because he can push out, he can defend both sides. He has no problems defending both sides. That's kind of like thinking for S tiers is commanders who can defend both sides easily and can push out.
All right. Dehaka goes in S tier. Phoenix, where do we have him?
I would probably put Phoenix. I know he's very powerful. I'm very bad at Phoenix. But I know he's very powerful. I've seen the things that other people can do with him, but he requires so much work. And with this map, if you're intending to solo, Phoenix is a little weaker on that side, because generally people will want to keep their main army separate from their champions, and let the champions do all the fighting. I think I'm probably going to put Phoenix in A tier, because he's still more than capable of walking across the map to kill the laser drill if that becomes an issue. But he has a little harder time defending on this map, I would think. Of course, you can always teleport around with Arbiter Suit, but that doesn't prevent you from, defending against two waves at the exact same time.
Okay. Let's put Phoenix in A tier. Let's move on. Haren Horner, where do we have him?
I think Han and Horner, they're not exceptionally good at defending. They do have their missiles, which are good for delaying an attack wave or two if you have an emergency. Or if you know how to set them up, you can just destroy the teleport-ins if you're playing against Protoss, or the drop pods if you're playing against Zerg and Terran. I would put Han and Horner probably in B, because their normal army is a little weaker than you can normally deal with. I think, probably go with either Chaotic Power Couple to be able to have her mines very effectively destroy things, as well as it gives you the ability to destroy an army on one side while you move your galleons to the other side and create a new army. That way, you're getting the most out of your own death effects.
All right.
Otherwise, I think a good strategy for Han and Horner would be to build bombing platforms as a way to deal with another attack wave while your main army is dealing with one of them. As well as bombing platforms, I think a good way to deal with a laser drill.
All right.
Uh, I think probably B.
B tier. Let's move on. Karax, where do we have him?
Defensive map. It's Karax. He has to worry a little bit about eminent domain, but for him, it's not as big of an issue. Just because his own structures destroy them, and losing his own structures is kind of hard for him. His range is so high, I don't think there's very much that outranges them with long range, except for, I believe, Colossus against cannons. I think Karax is just fine. The only thing you'll want to struggle, or the only thing that people might struggle with is your early game. And I think that P2 is the wrong choice this mutation, just because his army, even though it's cheaper, still takes so long to build up.
Do you have
I
any
think-
idea what you just did? You just issued me a challenge to beat this as P2 Karax.
Oh no, I think you could definitely do it as P2. I didn't say you can't.
You said it's the wrong choice. Okay.
I think compared to the other two, it's the wrong choice, because
yeah.
with just being able to build a defense on all sides, that's not going to tide, or being able to build an army or defense on two sides and then kill the other two sides with just, your
Fair.
cooldowns.
That's fair. Yes. Okay.
I don't think it's. I think I probably should say it's the worst of the three prestiges, but not bad by any means for this specific
Good
time.
save. Good. Very good save. All right. So where do you have him?
I think he's probably easily yes. He's very, very strong.
All right. Let's move on. Kerrigan, where do we have him?
I'm a Kerrigan apologist. I think she is a lot better than people give her credit for.
Apologize now.
But I do think that Kerrigan will have a harder time with this mission.
That's what you said.
She has a very strong. I think she has a very strong early game, and she's very capable of being across the map with her Nidus networks. So defending both sides isn't necessarily a problem with her. But I always found her army to be a little more on the weaker side compared to most other armies. I would put Kerrigan, I think, in A tier, because Nidus Worms gives you the ability to defend all sides just very instantly.
Okay.
You can go Mutalisks if you need to deal with the more of a lot of small things, or Hydralisk is just very consistent. I think she's A tier because she can just kind of defend. She
Sure.
doesn't necessarily need to push it.
Sure. Let's have Kerrigan in A tier. Nova, where do we have him?
The defensive map, Nova gets very, very strong defensive options. Her only issue is being able to split effectively. She has a very low supply, and her army really needs that supply as they provide tanking power to each other.
Okay.
She can push out across the map to deal with laser drill, but that wouldn't really be a huge deal for her because her army is really high HP. I think she's probably a B tier because she's one of the commanders that is going to struggle very hard with splitting, especially if you're not used to having to split your army on Nova.
Okay. Nova B tier. Let's move on. Raynor, where do we have him?
I think Raynor is probably. He has enough supply to defend all sides, and obviously he's got world range if he needs to defend something instantly. His army is very capable of entrenching in multiple spots, so he's not too struggle worthy about sieging in two spots. I think he is probably an A tier this week, or before this mutation at least. I think he's very, very good at defending multiple points. I found that's always been my best strategy with Raynor.
Okay. Raynor A tier. Let's move on. Stetboy, where do we have him?
I mean, Stetman has the mobility from Stetellites. He has the durability from Stetellites to deal with Laser Drill. He has the damage just from his army and his hero unit. He can go across the map to deal with Laser Drill if he goes and clears out that way just by teleporting over there with Stetman. Or Gary, and you can always teleport back with Gary if he goes out to clear. I think he's probably S because he has no problems just being everywhere and killing everything, especially on this map where they're coming from very direct lanes. And his army is great at delaying if you need to split it.
Okay. Stetboy S tier?
I think so.
Let's move on. Stukov, where do we have him?
I think that Mechanical Stukov is very more than capable of defending on this map. I think it's very, very easy to defend with siege tanks if you're against the ground comp, or to defend with liberators if you're against an air comp. Pushing across the map will never be an issue with him, as his Diamondbacks are frankly a little on the strong side. I do think his Infested, if you're choosing to go for that, would be a little more annoying, because you have to dedicate them in one direction. But assuming you're not doing the Infected build, I think he's probably A, because his army is very powerful even when split.
Okay. Letter?
A.
A. Swan, where do we have him?
I think he's probably just right up there with Karax. I think Swan has the defensive ability using siege tanks, but unlike Karax, if he does go siege tanks, he's able to teleport them around the map using Hercules. So he can also deal with the laser drill very easily. He can split his army in almost all 4 points. So you don't have to do a little shuffle that you normally have to do to defend 2 at a time. He's got turrets for everything. I think he's probably S tier. It's a very defensive map. He's always been strong on defensive maps, as well as he's got just one thing he'd have to go kill every once in a while in the form of a laser drill. As well as dealing with the hybrid on this map would be no issue with him, again, just because he can just teleport on top of it.
All right, Swan S tier. Tychus, where do we have him?
I think that Tychus will do just fine, assuming that you're playing P2. I think otherwise he's still just great because he just destroys everything. His whole army doesn't even need to be there. Tychus himself can destroy most attack waves. Just put Nux on another one, destroys most attack waves outside of Lone Wolf. The only time I can see this being any kind of issue is if you get the double hybrid spawn at the end, but assuming you've kept good HP in your temple, that's not really a problem, especially since you've got Medivacs that'll just take you across the map. I think he's probably A, just for the amount of work that you'll have to put in with him, because you're defending 2 sides at once.
Okay. Tychus A tier. Vorazun, where do you have him?
I think Vorazun is probably B tier. The army's very not good. Actually, I think Vorazun is probably my only C tier. The army's not very powerful when split. Having to deal with 2 sides is not very great for her. While her cooldowns are great, I don't know if time stop's going to be up for every single attack wave to deal with everything. I think she's probably my only C tier because I think she'd be the one to struggle with this map the most and this set of objectives. Long range will be very difficult for her as her units are already fairly short range. Laser drill, she's got some very weak units. Sure, they can teleport, but I think she's just going to struggle the most. I think she's going to be the weakest commander for this mutation set.
Okay. Vorazun C tier. Zagara, where do we have him?
She just kills everything. Her only problem is her mobility. But you can easily have like a main army with Zagara in it and a suicide army to deal with 2 attack waves. I think I'd put Zagara in A just because she's very, very easily able to defend both sides, and she's able to push out if needed. She's got cooldowns, so I'm more than capable of delaying an attack wave. I think she's probably A.
All right. Zeratul, where do we have him?
He's just a jack of all trades, master of all. He
Master
can just
of
do
all.
everything. He really is. He can defend with just himself and have his army defend another side. his army is more than capable of pushing out 2 hybrid or the laser drill if that's your choice. He has his own cross map teleportation in the form of his void arrays and his own teleport. I think pretty much any of his prestiges are fine here, although I think probably P1 or P3 is better, as early game you're going to want to be able to defend those two sides a little more reliably. And the little extra mineral cost in his already expensive army will probably hinder you down just a little bit. If you go for that on P2, I think he's probably S. He's always been able to do everything.
All right. So do we have a double S?
A double S.
Yes, that's what I asked. Do we have a double S?
I think, in my humble opinion, probably Swan.
Swan
Just because
double
he's able to
S.
move. I think he's able to teleport to the hybrid destroyers on this map very easily using one Hercules, kill it very fast, put his army back at the base, while also defending both sides very easily with a mix of turrets and siege tanks.
Okay, let's put Swan and double S. All right, thanks to the power of movie magic, double Swan. Swan is now double S here. All right, are you happy with this tier list? Do you want to change anything before I give my comments?
I mean, it's my tier list. I gave my own personal opinions about it, so yeah, I'm happy enough with it.
All right, so here are my general thoughts. So this mutation is very easy. So the bulk of what you will do as a tier list is just really go into the discussions. How you separate yourself from the other applicants is to really give detailed explanations that show the depth of your knowledge about co-op. And yes, you did talk about the mutators. That's good. You did talk about having to split the armies, which is also good. That's one of the difficulties of this map. The only thing is that you seem to be reluctant to talk about actual unit compositions for some of the commanders. You did talk about some, and I will mention that. But for others, I remember for Abathur, I had to ask you to describe how you would go about this Abathur with going to the actual units before you even mentioned what units you'd go for. So that's the immediate thing. For Alarak, you definitely have a lot of options. You did say that you would go Mothership and Destroyers, but Slayers for me is a weird choice. I would rather go for Ascendants or Wrathwalkers first. And you did mention that you have, for some commanders, that you have to split your army. I would think that Alarak is probably one of the first commanders that you would say you have to split your army, because he can't split his army. And he can fight both sides with the same army, or with two halves of the same army. But I feel like that has to be mentioned in the Temple of the Past game with Alarak. You also didn't mention how you can defend the early game with Overcharge and just stall those early waves until you can get a sufficient army out. But I guess that is forgivable because the Mothership is also a fantastic anchor to the early game. Next, Arcturus. You mentioned that he has a difficulty or trouble splitting his army. That's actually not true at all. He can just put guys in bunkers and not worry about them moving out of position. He can siege tanks, siege Thors, have Earth Splitters just pointed in one direction, and just have other sets of Earth Splitters. I feel like that's just bordering on misinformation at that point, because it's just patently not true. Next, for Horner, this is probably your biggest mistake. Horner is triple S. You know why?
Really?
Yes. Because
I do not know.
Eminent Domain gives Horner immortal, unkillable galleons. So you can just...
I did not know that.
Now you do. So now you can just stick a galleon or two in each lane and not worry about the enemies even coming close to the temple. It is actually literally easier than double S. It is easier than a regular brutal. You don't even have to fight the laser drill. Let the laser drill target that one galleon that will just never ever die.
I mean, if that's true, then you're completely right about that. My thinking with Alarak was, I was thinking of a strategy where you have kind of a stronger army to clear out an attack wave, where you use Slayers with their extra durability to delay the other attack wave.
That's fair, but no. He can.
I mean, that's
he
just
can,
what I was thinking.
especially if you're going ascendants, you can just throw orbs and the enemy will just not be a thing anymore.
That's true.
Anyway,
You're right.
moving on. For Kerrigan, you didn't mention. You mentioned that her army is kind of flimsy. You did mention that, so I had to credit you there. You just didn't mention that it's only flimsy specifically against air. Against ground, she stomps. Ultra's great against ground. Lurker's great. Dude Lord's great. But once they go up against flying units, that's when the difficulties arise. And I think that's when you should have mentioned that she does have an option to go for spore crawlers. She has the option to go for hydralisks against her weakness, which is air. But he didn't mention it, so no
I
credits there.
think I did mention Hydralisks.
Did you? Okay, let's give
Yeah.
you the benefit of that. Let's say that you did mention hydralisks. It's still kind of it's still kind of flimsy against air, even when you do make
is.
hydralisks. So yes, against ground they're fine. Well, no, they're still flimsy against ground. They just have Kerrigan in front of them. But yes,
That's true.
the air thing is the really big thing to mention for Kerrigan. Especially because there's really nothing else that's difficult about this mutation. Even if the laser drill does kill an Omega Worm, it doesn't respawn for the enemy. So it's literally useless for Amon to destroy that. You can just literally feed
Yeah.
Omega Worms, which, again, you could have mentioned that. Nova is... You mentioned that she has difficulty splitting her army. Again, false. Because she has Liberators. She has Siege Tanks. And you can F2 the rest of the army while you have some that are sieged. And the biggest thing of all, you can just fly a command center to whichever lane that you're not in and just use airstrike. That'll clean up all the mess that you can't get your other army to. Or if you really need to fight it with your army, airlift. So, where's the difficulty in splitting there?
That's true. I was thinking about trying to keep the cost down. I always see that's her biggest issue, but
The
you
cost?
make a lot of really good points.
No, Nova is actually really, really easy. You can even have her hero fight the wave on her own. If she dies, just
make
call
a-
her back down. Or put a defensive drone
You make
so
a-
she doesn't die.
You make a really good point.
Yeah.
You make a lot of really good points.
Thank you.
I don't often have to think about these commanders when paired up against each other.
Well,
Um,
that's kind of what you have to think about when you're doing these
I
kinds
know.
of tier lists. That's sort of the job. Anyway,
You're completely right. No, you're completely right. Like I said, this is all in my mind. Like the tier list kind of makes sense from my own experience, but obviously, what you're saying as you say it, it's like makes a lot of sense. It's just not stuff I thought of off the top of my head or have
okay.
written down over here on the side.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Swan, mostly fine. Siege tank's fine. I imagine you'll get a lot of comments from other people about going wraiths instead. But siege tanks, I think, in the Hercules are also fine in this situation. You can also go. You can even go Mass Goliath. I mean, it's basically a regular brutal with extra steps, so you're fine with going siege tanks in the Hercules Swan. Stukov, you did talk about your units. I like how you talk about the siege tanks and the liberators and the Diamondbacks. They're all very good units. So points there. You did mention turrets for Swan. They are still very good, even though you do have a slight risk of them getting destroyed. You can always just rebuild them if you do lose them. Then for Tychus, you did mention Medivacs. Good point about the Medivacs. I'm a little iffy about Tychus being an A. I think it's easily S. If you know any bit about Micro, he's easily S. Let's move on.
I mean,
Yeah.
you're right. I was kind of fluctuating between it myself. My only thought there was not everyone's gonna know how to move around Tychus, and not everyone who watches you do these videos are, level 1000 gods. I've been watching you since I was level 5 Rainer.
Yeah, I was also watching me since I was level 1 Rainer, so. Second to the last thing, Vorazun, I think is very iffy for C tier. I would put her B at lowest, but I would probably have her as low A. Her only weakness is really against air. Against ground, Dark Templar do a fantastic job of just destroying everything. The only problem is if you're up against air, and you're up against the 9-minute 30 wave against air attacks on both sides, that's the only hairy situation. I can think of is Vorazun. Otherwise, I think you shouldn't really have any huge problems. I would personally put Vorazun in A with consideration toward B. C, I think, is a very far stretch. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're right. It's just my opinion. I think Vorazun is actually strong against ground. I would compare her to someone like Kerrigan minus the hero because, like I said, she's kind of flimsy against air. But on the ground, she
My
just kicks butt.
my thinking with putting Vorazun with C isn't that she's actually C tier. I definitely would have put her in B after thinking about it for a little longer. I probably should have said that. I put her in C to kind of signify that I personally think that she's probably the weakest commander for this mutation.
I guess that's fair. When you think about someone this weak, you kind of want to subconsciously put them in the lower tier. But I did give you a chance to reconsider, and
Yeah,
you
you're
probably
right.
should
You're
have done
completely
that.
right. You're right.
Okay.
But in my
and
mind, that's just why I put her lower.
finally, my final itch, the entire video, is that you constantly talked about having to walk to the laser drill and destroy it every time. Why not just camp it with static defense?
Mostly because I believe the laser drill spawns on top of the enemy
Yeah, so
waves.
fly a transport or spawn camp the waves. If you're a raider,
Yeah.
no problem. Zagara, Abathur, no problem. Even Karax,
Yeah.
no problem.
Yeah.
So for most of these commanders, I feel like you can camp the laser drill
Well-
and the waves.
When I say walk out to laser drill, I mean just for the first time when you're pushing into the map.
Okay, that's
I don't mean like walking. I don't mean like walking every single time it goes to kill it. I think once you're out there, yeah, you should go do something
Right.
about it. But I probably should mention that. That's just something that's like normally, I guess, is so normal to me. I felt like I didn't have to mention it, but I probably should have.
You probably
Just like
should
once
have.
you kill a laser drill, make it sure it stays dead.
Yes.
That's a good point.
Make sure it stays
Um,
dead. All right.
You're completely right.
I believe that's all my comments. Generally you did okay. The solo was
Scuffed.
kind of interesting. No, it wasn't even because the fact that you almost lost. It was really interesting to see you have so many production structures before you even get your expansion up. I was like, are we doing mass gateway to flex on how easy this mutation is? Because that is definitely consideration. You can just flex with mass gateways, but then with eminent domain, once you lose those gateways, they'll start producing units that will fight you.
You're right. My thinking was the gateways are so cheap to his normal army
Also,
that I like to have them.
you mentioned that you didn't need the Void Arai. You do know that you could have absolutely gone around the cliff and just sniped the second bonus if you had the Void Arai. Right?
Yes,
If you wanted to do the bonus, you did say that you're a big proponent of doing the bonus. So
I
if you
am. You're
really-
completely right. I did say that.
If you really wanted to, you should have flown a Void Arai there. Anyway, I guess it was very interesting as is. Guys, comment down below how well you think Azule did in this interview. Let me know whether you would like to have him on the team, or you would like to have him as a reserve, or have him like in training or something else. And if you want to join these tier lists yourself, join my Discord group. I have a separate chat there for tier list applications, and let it be known. I'll see you guys next time.